This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
You've heard him on my show before. He's one of the most celebrated pet couture designers in the world, and he's been written up in many of the national media outlets. He's been presenting collections at New York Fashion Week for the past 7 years. And this year, his ability to show was very special indeed. After 18 months of pandemic lockdown, pet and human fashion couturier Anthony Rubio once again dazzled the runway with his original designs to celebrate our endurance and resilience in the face of COVID, bringing the party to them. So we're going to hear all about his newest collection, stories from behind the runway, and you'll find out how you can include an Anthony Rubio design in your baby's couture collection when we come back from a short break from our sponsor. You're listening to Bark and Swagger on Pet Life Radio. I'm Jody Miller-Young, your host. So grab that favorite beverage, get comfortable, and we'll be right back.
How many of you have pets? My hand's raised. Now think about how lucky you are to have such a sweet little pet in your life, and that pet is lucky to have you too. But unfortunately, there are countless pets out there that don't have a home to call their own. However, Bob's from Skechers is trying to change that. So we developed Bob's for dogs and cats to help pets in need. With every purchase of adorable Bob's footwear or fun, stylish apparel, or even the cutest Bob's pet accessories, Skechers makes a donation to Petco Love to help save shelter pets. And with your help, we've already saved the lives of over 1 million pets and raised over $7 million. So while you're getting style and comfort with features like Skechers' famous memory foam cushioning, you're also helping to save an adorable pet in need and helping another lucky owner be connected with a future best friend and companion, because happiness is having a loving pet by your side. Find Bob's at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, select Petco locations, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. If you've just joined, you're listening to Bark and Swagger on Pet Life Radio, and I'm Jody Miller-Young. Today, we're speaking with world-famous pet couturier Anthony Rubio, who's just presented, maybe a week and a half ago, his latest collection on the runways of New York Fashion Week for the first time since the onslaught of COVID. Let's go behind the runway with Anthony, and you'll hear all about his new designs, stories from the runway, and how you can have your own Anthony Rubio design too. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Great. I'm so thrilled to have you because presenting alone is we were just talking about this, a huge endeavor.
Yes.
But this has been the first time in 18 months that you've been able to do what you do and present it to the people. And you did it in a way that was very, very special. So I totally want to talk about that. This was like a love letter to New York, this show. Give us a big picture, sort of description, view of what you were saying.
Okay. Well, for starters, just to make things a little even clearer, when the pandemic crisis came in, we had just finished New York Fashion Week, and caught off guard, we were unable to get to California to do the show in LA. And everything slowly started closing down. When the following Fashion Week was coming, which was that following September, we had a challenge because we were in lockdown. We were not allowed to display anything or congregate or do anything like that. So, my thing is about staying relevant and staying in everybody's mind and eyes, because everybody is like just dressed and things were closing down everywhere. People companies disappeared, and everyone is affected, including the fashion industry, which I have to applaud, because the fashion industry kicked in and helped during the pandemic, including myself, making masks, producing products that they never produced before, from sanitizers to clothing for the medical staff. So there's been a lot went on, and it threw us all off guard, just like it did every other industry. We had to decide what direction to take. And you, Jody, you've been there for many years watching my shows. You've been there for the very first one. So you know that I'm one of those unrelenting people that I persevere, and if there's a will, there's a way. And so we thought outside the box. I had watched what was going on in Europe, especially, and I decided that I wanted to do virtual shows. So while we were on lockdown, I still adhered to the dates of fashion weeks, and I did present virtual shows with live models and dogs.
Wow.
And I was the only one who was doing it, one of very few designers here in New York. And what happened was that it got picked up by a lot of press because, we were still pushing forward. And like I said, I did do my part for COVID, with producing masks and everything. But I'm not medically trained, and I was very skittish about getting that involved, that immersed in it. But I did what I could.
Yeah.
But we were thrilled to see that the numbers were going down, especially here in New York. The numbers went down, and during the summer, we were watching everything and waiting on bated breath to see what was coming for Fashion Week. And we got the green light that Fashion Week would happen. We got the green light in early August that Fashion Week was going to happen with live audiences. And that's when the chaos broke out, because we have production companies that we sign on with, that we sign on with, that do the major the location, do the big pieces like lighting, the runway built for us, because that would be crazy if I could handle that as well. But that's what you pay for, so that you can, it's an investment. And, the top designers pay anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000, sometimes even higher for the locations. So the hunt began, but there weren't that many production companies because they usually come from out of town. The company I usually use comes from the West Coast, and they didn't come, and they weren't telling us anything, and we weren't getting responses. So we set out to get a new location. For the virtual shows, I self-produced. So we did the shows ourselves. We choreographed. I got a team together, and we self-produced. And even in California, we did one in June where we got a studio that was the size of an airplane hangar, and we put it together ourselves. And I don't want to ever take that endeavor under my sleeve, because it was the most stress, because it's not enough that we had the stress of putting the show together, but now the venue, and we had people flying in from all over the country that wanted to be part of it, because that's the other thing. People were anticipating, waiting on bated breath for the day that we would be able to show. And I have such I have to say, I'm blessed. God blessed me with wonderful people that want to be part of the shows, even if they travel. I have people travel to the West Coast from Florida, from Colorado, from Texas. So I have people that come in, not just from the location, because the majority is from there, but the same thing here in New York. They came from all over to do the New York. So when I announced that we were doing the New York Fashion Week show, oh my gosh, we got bombarded by so many applicants. And, this is a courtesy I extend to my clientele for their dogs to be in the show. And I bring in professional models from the agencies who offer their models, because they want to be, the models even come behind the agencies and ask me if I could write the agency a letter for them, because they really want to be part of this show. They want to handle the animals. They want to be, it's a big thing.
It's different in people and pets,
Yeah, that and the fact that, again, blessed to get the media attention that I get. They appreciate what I do. So they do wonderful stories from Harper's Bazaar, Vogue Italia, Vogue all over the world. Funny story, one of my clients was in Barcelona. They passed by a doggy shop with doggy clothing. And on the screen, they were showing one of my shows on their screen in Barcelona.
Fantastic.
So and they sent me the video of it. And I'm like, holy crap, look at this.
Cool.
So it's wonderful. But the thing was that, here we were coming to September. And to the very last minute, there were still government regulations and laws being twisted and pulled around. So like the week before, they made the law that everybody had to show the COVID vaccination cards and proof that they've been vaccinated and wear masks at the venues. So we weren't completely out of the woods. We were just given a special altered version of what we were expecting, and we had to roll with the punches. So of course, we had to contact all our models and everybody. If you're coming, you have to be like this, you have to have that. I'm not one to judge who gets vaccinated or not, but the fact of the matter was that, there were people amongst us that wanted to be in the show, but didn't get vaccinated, didn't believe in the vaccine. And I had to, kindly, asked them to please understand that this wasn't a personal decision. This is
Yes.
the decision of our government, that I didn't want to get shut down or whatever because I tried to look the other way. So we did get our roster together of models. And we even got some extras on the side just in case, because things do happen. And I always have extras. And we pulled this show together, and we did it at a place called Sony Hall, which was a famous place that was a nightclub in the 1930s. So it had this special feel to it.
Oh, wow.
It was a gem in itself. It was called, I think, the Horseshoe Lounge or something like that. And it had personality in its own. So that itself added and enhanced. And then we went into once you do the walkthrough, we decide what we're going to do, because we're all about now. Like you said, I wanted to take my audience on a trip. So we created the virtual screens and things that were in the background. Everything you saw, we created as far as the look and everything. And so Rob and I Rob, my partners, researched the photography and places that we wanted to feature and things that would work with the colors of the clothing. So this is, like you said, it's the little things. It's not just that let's throw a show and it's done. This is about, and then just to give you an idea.
Yeah, people don't realize, that they come, they see the show or they watch it on video and it takes them into another world. But what goes into actually creating that world?
Exactly.
We were talking about this just before. The designing and actually making of the clothes is one facet, which is a big job in and of itself. When you see the video, which everyone, you'll be able to, see these looks that Anthony created, but there's the whole pre-production and production and videography and photography and
public relations. The public relations is a world its own, and that's what Rob handles. He handles all the bookings, all the guests, that front row thing where everybody wants to kill each other to get that front row seat.
I know. It's no different in the doggy world. It's dog eat dog.
It's very dog eat dog. And the funny thing is that we send out the invitations in advance, but everybody in the industry waits they wait for the calendar to come out so they can start planning which shows they want to attend. And again, I'm blessed because they want to come to my show, and I get a pit full of photographers from the media, from Getty, from everybody, which is wonderful. And unfortunately, because the size of the venue, and the venue is big, but we had to turn away around 350 approximately invitations from the industry. This is not even just regular people. This is the industry, people from magazines.
It was packed.
Yeah, it was a packed house.
I saw that.
If you see the video, we had a packed house. We were full to the rafters, and we still had to maintain distancing things at the tables and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was, it was hard, but in the end, I was pleasantly, I don't see the show until the film comes out because I'm backstage.
Of course.
I see the audience only when I come to take my bow.
I know. You're prepping every model before they go out. I know.
I'm hearing all week how wonderful the show was, how gratifying, what it did to people. And I'm like, I didn't see the show. Yeah. So when I finally get to see the show, and I purposely wait until the day that I debut the show online so I can watch it along with the people that are watching it. So I can react as they do.
Yeah.
And, and it was very gratifying to see the reactions of the audience.
Let's wait on that. And let's take people into the vision.
Okay.
And what you were trying to say to New Yorkers and do for New Yorkers.
Well, we've been through a lot. There was a huge exodus of people leaving New York once COVID hit. People sold their homes. They left, hotels closed down. So the city's not the same anymore, even though at this time, we're talking about back then, at this time, it's starting to see its renaissance. It's coming back again. Theaters open and everything. But when I did my show, there was 3 days before Broadway opened up again. And my show wasn't on the Broadway theater circuit. But we had gone through so much. And my thing was that I acknowledge the plight of everyone who suffered and went through COVID, and the boundaries that we were put into, because we were locked into our homes. We were limited with our social lives. There was no reason to get dressed. There was no reason to go out. There was no place to go out to. So my thing was that when we were going with a live audience, I wanted to come in with a big bang. And I wanted to tell the story of how we came out from restricted zone into back out into the light. So it was like we came out of the other end of this situation, as they say, out of the other end of the tunnel, but we're not out of the woods. But we came out of the other end of the tunnel. And there are those of us who survived, those of us who were able to get through it. Many of us went through so much, because I myself have witnessed death and everything through the pandemic. But we had to show that we were resilient. And my thing was that New Yorkers are warriors. New Yorkers are unrelenting. We move forward. We don't stay down. And I wanted to celebrate that. So it was Coming Out of the Darkness, which is the first piece that comes out of the show.
Yes, I was just going to ask you about that. The first looks black and white. And,
black and white.
You know,
and that's basically the COVID period. And the girl coming out, but what was she holding in her hands? The brightest pink outfit on the little dog, like a glimmer of light. And then from there, it went to pastel colors, to brighter colors, to fluorescent colors, so that by the end, it looked like the confetti at a parade, like somebody just blew the colors and everything. And we used backgrounds that gave a 3D effect. It was the illusion of the runway going into a tunnel, almost going into a very lit, elaborate, beautiful place.
Looks a little Italian to me.
Actually, you want to know something? People thought that too. And you know where it was really? A Russian subway station.
Oh my God.
In Russia. And I'm big. Let me tell you, I travel a lot. And
we're going to talk about that. Let's not go there now. We're going to talk about it.
But one of my favorite things is to ride the subways and see how the other half lives, how they live besides New York, because I like to do the comparative thing. Yes. And now I want to go to Russia because these train stations are so decorated and so beautiful. But again, that was just the background. Yes. And it pulled everybody in, and to see the reaction, I heard it from behind the curtain and then see it on film, the reaction of the people when it was like, oh, this big gasp when that thing opened up and you see all the way down and the model's coming.
Yeah.
And that model that opens up the show, her name is Elena. She's one of my favorite models. She's been in every one of my shows. I trained her personally. She was a tomboy, and I turned her into this beauty that she is. and she's a goof. She's such a tomboy and a goof. And she's an artist too, but she's just become such a beautiful person. And she's one of those people that walks in a room and lights up the room with her smile. So this girl walks in and she's jovial as can be. So she does whatever I say. And when she saw the garment, she didn't say, other people would be like, how come they're wearing color and I'm wearing black and white? She was like, I love this. And she was like, I'm going to tell this story. And I was like, you go for it, girl. And
she got
did.
it. She got it. I noticed that the dogs exuded glamour. Lots of glitz, lots of glimmer. What were you saying with those looks?
That was my celebration of our pets. There was a huge influx of people adopting dogs because of the loneliness of COVID. Adopting pets, I should say, not just dogs, pets. Yes. And of course, now at the end, there's some glitches because people, now that COVID is gone and they have to go back to work, they're putting dogs up for adoption, which breaks my heart. But it just shows you that people acknowledge and know that domestic pets fill our lives. And my celebration was that, you could take a dog and it could have any kind of a disease or accident and lose a limb. And they're so resilient that they bounce back and they act like it never happened. It could be a leg lost or an eye, and they're back happy, wagging tail, whatever. And they're not worried about what's happening. We as people were freaking out during this COVID thing because, let's be realistic, we got caught with our pants down. And dogs and cats are more about sensing and companionship and seeking shelter, so I learned a lot from my boys. They don't freak out. They don't even, fireworks don't bother them. They're very good, and I learned from the animals, and I even learned from the animals that come from the shelters and organizations like the Sato Project, where these animals have lived in environments that we would never be able to survive in, and yet they have. So my thing was to celebrate the pets, and I wanted to dress them up as elaborately, as colorful, as bejeweled. I went all out, and
you did.
The whole show, actually, the building of the clothing and the designings started this time with the dogs. And until the last garment was done, I didn't start on the people clothing. And each garment, so these clothing were being done from last June. And I spent up to a week on each garment and wouldn't jump to the next one because that vision had to stay there. And I had to keep it was tunnel vision. And I had to keep that garment until it was finished, until it told the story I want that garment to do, because it matched the personality of the dog and where it came from also. So the colors tell something for each dog. There's a little something. And that's what I love also, that the pet owners and myself, we have a little secret thing going where they know that what I'm going to produce is going to be something special for their dog. It's not going to happen for the other. It's going to be for their dog. So a quick little side story was that the day of the show, I got caught up with dressing the models. And one of the things I do, I fight and struggle with the idea that when there's so many people and so much going on backstage, I have to have a room for my dogs and their owners before, during, and after the show. I don't want them bothered. I don't want anybody stressing an animal. So I give up, if it's my VIP lounge for something, I'm like, I don't want it. I want the people with the dogs. So I missed the day of the show. I also missed, like, the show I didn't get to see when the clothing for the dogs was distributed. And I tell the stories and I get a little verklempt because I heard the story that Rob came in with the clothing, and as he pulled each garment out and called out the owner of the dog, it was like Christmas. That's the word they used. They were all like in awe and looking at the garment and so lovingly appreciating and applauding each garment as it went to the dog. So each person felt like, wow, my dog is a star. And that's how I always put it, that each dog is a star. And no dog is more important. No dog is more famous. It's the dogs are stars in my show. They're the models. They're the first. I'm the first designer to present on New York Fashion Week, dogs as models, not accessories. And I treat it as such.
Absolutely. What was the most challenging garment for you to make on the dog side?
Well, one thing that happens with every show, it's been happening too often, and I was getting upset with myself for beating myself up for it, was that my boys, Bogey and Kimba, were not getting the garments, the quality that I was doing for the other dogs, because I was rushing theirs as opposed to the other dogs. So this time I said, I'm going to make something extra special for each of my boys. And those were not only the hardest to make, but the most expensive. I went all out and I cut myself so many times because their garments, which I will show you, were made with a lot of metal and glass and stones, and all hand sewn. And these fabrics, once you can't run it through a machine, so a lot of it is hand done. And those took a lot of time, but they're masterpieces, and they're art pieces now.
Show us.
Okay. So,
and for those of you listening, you'll see photos of this. Oh my God, that is stunning.
So this is Kimba's outfit.
Just describe it for those listening.
Okay, so it's got a Elizabethan, that's the word, look to it, with these little pads on the waist, because the other thing is my Kimba gets carried. He doesn't want to walk. So I want it more to be on the top, more volume. So I created these pieces, and what you're seeing here are rows of bugle beads, glass beads, little metal balls, and all of this work being done like chevrons along the sleeves. Because that's the other thing. Other designers do this strap thing, which is fine, but that's very cookie cut out. My thing is I do people tailoring, and I do it on the dogs as well. So there will be tucks and pleats or whatever, but whatever the case may be, there are stones and everything all around, and there's this symmetry.
An even more bejeweled neckline.
Yeah, the neckline is bejeweled completely around. And as you can see from the glimmer and the light, it's all glass. And then a lot of it is held together with wires. And then I finished it off with this wonderful necklace, which has the same tones in the stones. Stunning. And it's pretty incredible. But like I said, it took a lot of time, a lot of money, because these are not plastic. These are Swarovski crystals. This is the real deal. Yeah. And this is a lot of work that went into this to create this. And it's got the little nuances and little things like
I love it. I noticed that. The dangling, glittery
and you ribbon. See the symmetry of the design, the way
the chevron.
These are separate pieces. So all of these, these are made separately in pieces, and then I put it together to create. Yes. So it's like sculpting, in other words.
It is stunning. And you'll be able to see this on the Pet Life Radio YouTube channel. And I'm going to put this up on the Bark and Swagger YouTube channel too. So now this is Bogey.
This is even more elaborate. This is incredibly elaborate. So
this is like a duster for a dog, a bejeweled duster.
Like stained glass, which is the fabric underneath. And then the layering of all the crystals. And this design right here is all wire. Remember when we used to write penmanship classes? That's what we did here. It's like all this little circular thing going on here with all the work here. And then beautiful. We did the blue stones in the front.
Love that.
And I did these little special things on his little show, because he's the one that rides on my arms when we come out.
Yes, like little angel wings.
Yes. So he rides this way. And so
Yes.
this is what everybody sees along the way of the fashion
Stunning.
show.
Stunning, 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 Anthony.
Thank you. And that's just an idea of the work
Oh
that went
gosh.
on.
Well,
Yeah.
this is a perfect lead into, my next question for you, which is you really mixed up the fabrics. You had the lush brocades, you had the sheer ethereal looks with the sequins, you had the crystals. Why did you choose the fabrics you did for these looks? And what were you looking for when you were selecting for us fashion lovers?
Well, first of all, as an artist, the first thing that I looked for was colors, and I had a theme, I had a story to tell, so I had to have the right colors. Then once I had the colors, I had to look for, I wanted a festive look like New Year's Eve when the ball comes down and the confetti flies. So I needed the depth, and that's where the textures came in and the glitter and the sequins come in. And each color represents, like I said, the personality of the dog and the shapes as well. And there were feathers. Yeah, there were feathers. There were sequins. There was, you name it, brocades. And the funny thing is that I was watching yesterday because the fashion weeks travel around the Europe. From New York, they go to London. From London to Milan, and from Milan to Paris, and then they swing back to New York. And I was watching the Milan shows yesterday for Prada and for Versace, and I found so many similarities. Now, remember, my show was first.
I
But
do.
mine was weeks ago. They're showing yesterday. So I'm not saying they copied anything, but there were some coincidences. The color palettes, even the closing dress on the model that closed with me had a high-low dress with this little tail on the back. And the whole Prada show had very similar short dresses with tails on them, and the colors.
Well, it just goes to show you are so on point.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, that I've got that. And I remember I don't get to see none of that stuff until after. So, and the same thing happened with the show when I saw it on the film. It brought me to tears because it gave the reaction to the audience that I wanted. It made people happy. And it's the show that makes everyone smile. And everybody went after the show when I was walking, they lead us to the red carpet to take pictures. And as we're going, people with the cell phones in our faces and everything, but people kept coming up and congratulating me and telling me that this made them feel good. It was something so special. And there's a gentleman from NBC TV, I won't say his real name, but his title in the show is Mr. Manners. And he comes to my shows. I always send him an invitation. He waited until a lot of people were going to come up to me and say, that show was the feel-good show. He says, it was like, welcome back to New York. He told me the whole story that I was relaying without knowing what I was doing. Yeah. And I said, bingo. I said, thank you. You just confirmed that I got through my point. And that made it for me. So
that's fantastic. Now, for the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong, you incorporated menswear, not the naughty ties like you've done before, but a real full menswear look into the show, right?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
I loved what you did, especially the dusters. They are crazy good. What inspired those looks? And listeners, you're going to be able to check this out on the Bark page. So they're very cool.
The idea, I've been wanting to extend into the menswear. I've been saying this for a long time because there were several new things that I did for the first time, including women's pants, which I'll get into after. But they were
beautiful.
The dusters were something that I had been studying, the Japanese designers, Yoshi Yamamoto and Issey Miyake. And these are designers that work with creating fabrics and creating, I believe it's Issey Miyake that creates clothing for women and for men that is easy to travel. It looks wrinkled all the time. And it's because you could pack it in luggage, you could pack it into a tube and carry it with you and then just pull it out, shake it out, put it on. And they make this thing that looks so easy, so cool. And I was at Mood, and I was looking at these fabrics that have recycled plastic. And so these are synthetics, but it's recycled goods. And I loved the look of them. And then I went and I touched them and I was like, oh, wait a minute. It was like, I've never worked with this. It's hard enough to manipulate a sewing machine with stones and sequins and stuff, but to manipulate a fabric that's synthetic and slippery would be hard. But, I'm one of those people that I said, I'm going to do this one way or another. And I just went to it. And I created these dusters that resemble what you see in anime movies. They had holograms on them.
Yeah, it's so like Space Age.
Yeah, so when the lights hit them, the black and white one looked like smoke. It looked like it was moving. And they took this wonderful picture, which I have on my page on Facebook, that the model turned around and it looks like he's wearing a cape. So my saying is that you don't have to be a hero to wear to be wearing a cape. And he wore this thing that, and my male models, I use pretty much these two guys a lot because they're just so good people. And they love the dogs.
And gorgeous.
And good looking.
And attitude, the way they flung that duster around.
And they listen to instruction, which is very important.
Great.
So the names of Rob and Cody. And when they came in and I said, I have something special. It's not just ties or accessories. This is for you. They put them on and they were like, holy crap. They felt it. And when they're on the runway, you could see that they felt it and they wanted to show it. That was what went on with those men's clothing. And I'm going to take it further. I want to do blazers. I want to do suits. So this is just the beginning stages, but I needed to get the approval first of this first set of clothing before I move forward. Because if people would tell me, well, that was lousy and that really didn't work out, then I would say, you know what, then maybe I should hold off. But now I've got this green light. I'm like, are you kidding? I've got fabrics I'm looking at. I'm like, I can make a man's jacket from that. So I'm already planning the next show.
We can't wait to see. I mean, and choosing dusters were so on point. They're just so modern and
it's a contemporary look.
And artistic and cool, very contemporary. We are going to take a short break from our sponsor, but when we return, we're going to hear some behind the runway stories, Anthony.
Yes.
And you're going to learn where you too can get an Anthony Rubio design. So refresh that beverage, get cozy, and we'll be right back.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back, right after we kibble a little with our sponsors.
For those fortunate to have experienced the deep bond and unconditional love of a companion animal, the death that follows can be one of the most difficult and misunderstood losses to go through. Many times, this devastating loss goes unrecognized and trivialized by family and friends, leaving grieving pet parents struggling to find healthy ways to cope with the loss. In And I Love You Still, a thoughtful guide and remembrance journal for healing the loss of a pet, Dr. Julianne Corbin calls attention to the difficulties unique to the loss of a beloved pet and provides an interactive and compassionate guide to help you process your loss and work towards coming to a place of peace and healing. For those interested in journal therapy and looking for a professionally written and compassionate resource to help understand and reconcile the grief associated with the loss of your pet, this book is for you. And I Love You Still, a thoughtful guide and remembrance journal by Julianne Corbin, is now available for purchase on Amazon and other major book retailers.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms, and our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. If you've just joined, we're talking with top pet couture designer Anthony Rubio, who just presented his newest collection at New York Fashion Week. You're listening to Bark and Swagger on Pet Life Radio. I'm Jody Miller-Young. Anthony, I have watched you evolve and grow over the years, and I have to say bravo to you. I told you this before. I got goosebumps when I watched the video of your show because I know what goes into presenting a show, and I've seen how much you've grown over the years. I know that travel, you love traveling, and certain period fashion have had a huge effect on your growth as a designer and how you express that vision. Your trip to Italy, for example, for your fall-winter 2016 show was a huge inspiration. Tell listeners about the destinations and periods that have inspired you most along the way.
I'm very much about what's hip in the media and what's going on, in film and theater. So of course that influences me a lot. I travel to Europe when I can because like I'm not doing any traveling. It's
I
been a
know.
while, and I
We
think
know
it'll be
this.
another year because I do want to eventually present in Europe. But the thing about it is that I go to a lot of museums. I watch what's going on in the people fashion shows and with the high end haute couture. I borrow ideas. Let's be realistic. Fashion is not as innovative as people think it is because you can't reinvent the pants. The pants, either you raise the hem or but you can always enhance, you add a little something. And I like to look at what they were wearing in the 18th century. When I've been in Paris, I spend days at the Louvre. When I go to Italy, I've been to Milan, Rome, Naples. I've been all over Italy, and I like to take in the culture, and it all influences me. So when I come back, and I take notes. I'm always taking notes, and I'm always talking into my phone, and I'm always remember this and remember that, and that way, because like I said, I can't say I invented anything, but I can say that I rejuvenated it, or I made it more modern. So my thing is to create something that brings back some of that ethereal look, or whatever it is that affected me at the moment, and put it into the clothing, be it color, texture, or shape. And that's how that works. It's a lot of research. So a lot of the times I may be on vacation, but the eyes are always roving, always looking.
Yes.
And before I even go to Europe, I'm already looking on the calendars over there, what's open, what museums are presenting, so I know which ones to go, because there's not enough time to see everything. But when there's something that catches my eye, and by the way, here in New York, they're doing the Christian Dior exhibit, which I'm about to go see in a couple of days. But yeah, so you can imagine, it's like candy store. But the thing is that I love to travel just to get influence, and then bring it back and put it into the shows.
Absolutely. And it's really, you make it your own, which is
Yes.
the main thing. So I asked you what the most challenging piece, and it turned out to be pieces, were for the dogs. What about for the human models? What was the most challenging and why?
The human models are, it's funny that it always was easy to do the canine clothing because it was what I did all the time. And then I started doing the people clothing because in order to be, to make it official to be in Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, you have to produce human clothes. You can't just say I'm doing dogs on a runway, because then that's not what Fashion Week is about. So
Yes.
when I was invited into the realm of New York Fashion Week, I was asked to produce clothing for people. And at the time I was in Italy on vacation, and I quickly ran in Milan. Actually, I ran to a fabric store, rented a machine, and I put 3 garments together, sent them the pictures for the approval, and they were like, "You're in." So, this was, like I said, it's something that happened. It fell in my lap, and you got to take it and run. You can't turn around and say, "I can't do it." You miss an opportunity. You miss an opportunity.
That's right.
So you got to be hungry. You got to do it. So that's that. I did that, and the idea that it was easy to make the doggy clothing and then to go into human clothing, which is what I studied originally at FIT.
Mhm.
Now I'm used to the doggy clothing. Now I'm going back to human stuff. So the human stuff was a little challenging because I didn't want to look pedestrian or look like you could just go to the store and buy it. I wanted things that people I wanted people to like it without having seen it yet. So when they see it, it's like, I have to have it. And that's how I work. So that became harder. But now with this line of clothing, I have to say the harder part was the doggy clothing, because like I said, I was bejeweling, I was sewing. So I went back to the opposite. The human clothing, I was pumping them out like 1, 2, 3.
That's
My thing was finding the
interesting.
fabrics. And it was telling the story of, like I said, from bland to colorful and flavorful. And once I put things on a mannequin, like, I'm going to give you a quick peek here of what's happening already for February show. This is a garment. This
You
is a
guys
garment
better
I'm
check
working
out the
on.
YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Oh
only you
my
get a look.
God, that's stunning.
And this is all little pieces. The pins are in here, and I'm juxtaposing everything to then attach it and then create the dress. So
Wow.
that's what the next line is going to be. It's going to be like puzzles. So you see already the mind
Wow.
is working.
Yes.
The curtain was dropping on the last show, and I'm already where am I going in the next show?
Prolific, baby.
Yes.
I love it.
So that's how it works. And I'm finding it easier to work with the fashions for the people. And especially when I've got easygoing models who don't come in. I mean, when we get to the stories behind the curtains, behind the scenes, I'll tell you, but my models mostly don't question me. They're not, I've had situations where I put a garment on them and they say I could put this on, and they come back to me and I'm like, that honey is backwards. So, sometimes I have to dress them because they're not sure where I was going with the design. Yeah, it might look correct the way they put it on, but the correct way was the other way around.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky that I have people that work with me who love what I do, who are excited. And when I pull out the clothing to put it on them, they're like, and they're happy to put it on the runway. So
yeah. Well, let's hear about some of those behind the scenes. Wouldn't know about unless you told us stories.
Okay, so I have a photographer friend that filmed my show in LA, and he flew into New York. And unbeknownst to me, he spoke to Rob. So, Rob then filled me in the little pieces later on, the bits and pieces. The guy is doing a television show for the Russian network. And he's European, he's French, actually, for the European network that's very similar to America's Got Talent. And if you remember ever watching that show, they narrowed down all the models down to the last 4. And then they do an episode where they do the go-sees. And then from the go-sees, they get picked who gets picked the most by designers. And then that person gets to the finalist. Well, they pulled that stunt on me at this show. The photographer came over and he had asked if he could put some girls in my show. And I said, I'll bring some extra garments. And usually they don't allow that. They're like, you have 15 pieces. It's 15 pieces in the show. I went with 20 when they told me 15, but he bought me the girls. He bought 4 girls. And I picked out the girls, and then the one girl, the last girl was the one, he says, which one would you pick first? So I went through that whole thing. He's not telling me what this is about. And then I says, okay, you're going to wear this. You're going to wear this. And then one girl turned around. She didn't speak much English, and she's telling the other girls, and she's like, yeah, she wanted to wear it a different way. So right away that struck a note with me. I'm like, no, you're going to wear it this way because this is my design. And so she's the one who got eliminated. As the story turns out, that's the girl who got eliminated. And the prize for the other 3 is that they're going to be shown in Russia on my runway as the 3 finalists. And then the judges on the show pick the one that they like the most from the show of the 3 of them. So I have these 4 Russian girls who don't speak English. And I'm like, like it's crazy.
So this is a reality show in Russia?
Yes. It's their version of America's Got Talent.
And they kind of bum rushed your show.
Yes.
And made you a part of their story. And now you've just given something away to everybody.
Yeah.
You're going to be showing in Russia.
Eventually. Well, this show will show up in Russia for sure. Yes. So,
wow.
So that was just one thing. The other thing I was telling you about was that I delved into women's pants because people kept asking me, you keep making skirts, I says, okay, it's time that I bite the bullet and get into making women's pants, because my thing is, I get scared of the fittings or whatever. And I made these sheer pants that were pink with little feather-like things.
Beautiful.
And the metallic silver jack blazer. And it had a halter piece underneath because I was going to do these chest plates of sequins. And I only got to finish one for the show. The other 2 didn't come out. So they'll come out in the next show as part of something else. But it was completely done in sequins. And the girl, like I said, the Russian girl was like, So I was like, okay, you want to be like that? Here, let me get that plate. I says, now you can go nude with the jacket on.
I was wondering, I didn't see any plate underneath that sequin jacket. So
she taped things. They did that fashion tape thing.
Because the jacket wasn't closed. No,
it wasn't closed, but it's fitted. So it worked. And she had beautiful black long hair. So it looked incredible.
Oh, it did. And I love those pants. I love those pants. The sheer, beautiful, interesting texturally, and great color.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was, so that was another little something. Now, other things that happened backstage were that, unbeknownst to anybody, because of the COVID crisis, this place is located 2 levels down underground below a hotel. And the hotel has its parking lot and everything. And we saw it all open when we did the walkthrough. Then Hurricane Ida was her name, came to New York.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on the edge of my seat, nervous, because like I said, it's
underground. That's
underground.
scary.
People died in New York.
There know.
Were floods
Quite
everywhere.
a few people died.
And so I was afraid I was going to lose my location.
Yeah.
So thank God nothing happened to it. But unbeknownst to me, the reason why I bring it up is because when I did the walkthrough, there was too much stuff backstage, and where they were going to do the makeup was a kitchen, and they have a makeup room downstairs for the celebrities that come to perform on their stages. But because there's so many things going on, they made promises to me, they're going to move this, they're going to move that, they're going to give me this. And then I arrive and everything is still in place. And I'm like, and the garage is closed. And I'm like, I'm not making the connections yet, but I'm just angry because I'm like, this is not what we agreed to. This is not what I paid for. And then there were little things like people not acknowledging me when I spoke. And it was because I was not formally introduced to the staff. And the staff didn't know who I was. So they looked at me like, who does he think he is? And I'm like, so little things like that were piling up along the way.
The glitches
and
that
frustrating.
Happen.
And the place that they were going to have me to dress the models was now filled with tables that they had to use because the hotel got closed, and their room upstairs, their ballrooms is where they would move all that stuff to while the shows go on. That was not moved. So now they moved it into the room for the dressing. So I was dressing models behind a curtain next to the tables where the people were sitting. And it was also the passageway for another designer that was going to be showing, and their models kept crossing back and forth. So it was the most frustrating thing in the world.
The dark underbelly of New York Fashion Week.
Yes. And my other thing is,
you made it work.
Yeah. And the other thing is that I have to be wary in the age of Me Too, you have to be wary of the fact that you've got photographers who are walking around with cameras, and I've got models who are partially nude. And I have to be careful that nothing gets videotaped or photographed. So you imagine I'm chasing them away. I'm chasing this. And I'm like, you can't be here. You could be here. You stay, you go. And people, I wasn't.
You're like a circus master, right?
Exactly. So in the end, it becomes like an orchestra leader where I have to orchestrate everybody and get this one over there and get this one. And then they were rushing me to put the models on the runway when my models weren't dressed completely because of all the traffic. So it's a battle. But then, like they say, it's smoke and mirrors. It's all beautiful once the garments are done and everything, and we're ready to hit the runway. Again, I hit another wall where the person who has the headpiece talking to the light and music guy, who Rob did a meticulous job of picking the music and the video screens in the background and everything with instructions that a 10-year-old could follow. And yet they still messed up. And the girl is telling my models to hurry up. And I'm like, no. I'm not doing a 2-minute show. I paid a lot of money for this and I want the garments to be seen. So I got into it with her. And sure enough, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give you instructions and you tell the guy on the microphone. And she would look at me. She said, who do you think you are? And I says, the designer who's paying for you to be here. And she was like, oh. So then she kind of clicked, and then it went. That's when we got it moving. But you see, in the beginning of my films, I also have my logo production. I had that made. I forgot what country. I think it was in India. They did my logo spinning around, and then it like very Paramount Pictures or Warner Brothers. And I love that because it gives you it sets you up. It sets you up like, okay, what's coming next?
Glamour and crescendo. I know.
And then the first thing opened, and the rest is history. They'll let the people see for themselves.
Absolutely. I want to sort of end with something that, as long as I've known you, I've known has been very near and dear to your heart. And that is being a huge advocate of adoption. I remember you creating a campaign called Adopt Me Maybe for your 2015 show. Like a sort of nod to Carly Rae Jepsen's big song back then, Call Me Maybe, and including shelter dogs and the Sato Project dogs. Did you include rescues in this show again?
Yes, we had a celebrity shelter dog, a Sato actually, who we used during my virtual show in February. It was so much fun. I brought her back. Her name is Charlotte. She was on the cover of Dogster magazine. That dog smiles, and she's the easiest going, and she loves the runway.
Oh, cute.
And we also had a return. Yeah, she's incredible. And we had the return of Henry for Bidewee. Henry was another one that was rescued out in Texas somewhere. And he was from day one, that little boy, we dressed him up and we it was like we put him on the floor to go out on the runway. Before we could say go, he was on the runway. And so he made a comeback. And
good. I remember Henry.
His owner was thrilled. And we have a lot of adopted dogs. And we had a senior, I believe she's 20 years old, a senior blind Chihuahua named Nina, who they fly in from San Antonio.
Oh my God.
Because I write for a magazine in San Antonio, a fashion magazine, a big magazine over there. I'm the fashion editor, and the head editor brings her dog, and she's been in a few of my shows. So we're trying to make her senior life as important and as fashionable as possible. So she went from rags to riches, and she steals the show. And and we have the mayor of Union City, New York, who's senator also in New Jersey. His wife and himself came, and this was their second show. And they introduced, last time they brought only a girl, this time they brought the boy and girl Shih Tzus. So, and they're adopted as well. So I think just about, I would say 75% of the dogs in the show are sheltered or adopted dogs or rescue dogs.
Love that.
And, that's my thing, my heart. And
yes.
I didn't get to get a guide dog in this time, but I also bring dogs from the Guide Dog Foundation, which is the next show I'm working for in October 20th. I'm doing their show.
That's beautiful, Anthony. So tell listeners how they can get an Anthony Rubio design for themselves or their baby.
Well, everything is custom. It's a luxury line. And all they have to do is get in contact with me through AnthonyRubioDesigns.com. That's my web page, so it's easy to remember, AnthonyRubioDesigns.com. Or they can find me on Facebook, or they can find me anywhere. I'm all over the internet now.
Yes.
And all they have to do is shoot me an email, tell me that they're interested, and tell me a little bit about their dogs. I need to know a little something about the dogs and what the occasion is. And most importantly, I need to know if the dog has ever worn clothing before, because I don't believe in forcing an animal to wear anything.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And some of our dogs just don't like it.
That's right.
Just don't like it. Anthony, I cannot wait to see what happens next. And I'm so thrilled that you joined me today.
Oh, I forgot to share something with you.
What?
One more last thing.
What?
CFDA has invited me to have my everything put on their pages. So I'm now, part of CFDA 360. So people can go to CFDA 360.
Huge.
They can see my shows there, my history, everything is there. And another little surprise, something that I had wanted for many years, and it was just too difficult to do for myself or get anybody or hire anybody. And all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, poof, it appeared online. I am now Wikipedia. So
oh my goodness.
I have a Wikipedia. It's small right
You've
now.
You've really made it, Anthony.
But things are happening without my even knowing. Somebody put it together, and I looked at it, and it references everything I've ever done. And I was like, somebody's watching, so it's incredible.
Yeah. What a great feeling. All the hard work is paying off. So I'm really so thrilled for you. And thanks for joining us, Anthony. And I can't wait to see what comes next.
Thank you. I hope everybody enjoys the show.
Oh, me too. And thank you all for listening. Thanks to our producer, Mark Winter. Mark, you make us sound so good. We love you for that. My passion is living stylishly, rescue, and health. So join me next time for the designers, home decor, rescue stories, and health stories I love. And you can visit me on barkandswagger.com for those as well. So until next time, when fierce fashion calls, bark and swagger.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.